Hi everyone, we got Will Hubbard here from Student Veterans of America. Thanks for coming. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for the members at home who might not know you.
Great. Well, thanks for having me, Anna, and Jewish War Veterans of America. It's really a pleasure to always be here, so thank you for that. I'm excited to today talk to you about the Forever GI Bill, but just a little bit background on me. I work at Student Veterans of America. I run their government affairs program, and so anything related to policy, whether it's the executive branch or the legislative branch, keeping up on policy on the Hill, that's what I'm focused on.
Awesome. So I've heard a lot of names for this bill. What is the real name of the bill?
Well, you heard me reference the program as the Forever GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
The official title is the Harry W. Colmary Veterans Educational Assistance Act of 2017. And Harry Colmary was an American Legion member, actually, who is credited with writing the first GI Bill in 1944. And so the namesake on the bill is after him, just a bit of a throwback for history. We call it the Forever GI Bill because one of the major components of it removes the 15-year time limit, so you'll be able to use it at any point in your life.
Awesome. So what are the main points of this bill that you would want our members to know about?
Well, as I mentioned, the key is removing the 15-year limit. And the reason that's important is folks, the way it's written after 2013 and on, if they've gotten out after that, they'll be able to use their GI Bill at any point in their life. And that does two things. For individuals who transitioned out well, they maybe already had a degree or perhaps just went to raise a family, went right to work, they'll be able to, 15 years later or ever after, use the program. It also helps out folks who maybe didn't have such a good transition and had a hard time after they got out of the military and took some time off. They'll be able to use it beyond that point. Additionally, for the fact that the economy we know is now changing, it's an ever-shifting landscape, and so those who maybe got a job after they got out and are now looking to go back and get their education, they'll be able to do that. So that's a key component. Additionally, we're looking at a couple other key inequities. So Purple Heart recipients would all have 100% GI Bill. Also reservists will get GI Bill, and survivors, so families of the fallen, will have some inequities fixed. Those are the major components. There's a handful of others. There's about 30 or so provisions, and so this addresses quite a few things.
Good. So we've been hearing a lot of feedback from our World War II veterans, and they've been talking about how great of a deal that they had, and they're a little disappointed that in recent years our veterans haven't been given this as such a good deal as they had. What would you tell them?
Well, that's something that we're trying to address. This is actually the largest expansion and improvement of the GI Bill in over 10 years. So when it was passed in 2008 and put into effect in 2009, there were quite a few things that need to get fixed. So over the years, there's been several technical changes that have been made, but this will be a $3 billion expansion of the program over 10 years. And it'll add things like a 5th year for STEM degrees, science, technology, engineering, math, which we know typically take an additional year beyond the 4 that you receive with the GI Bill. So it'll address that. And as I said, a handful of the other inequities that we face. It will make this actually the most generous education benefit for veterans in history.
So we've also received a lot of feedback from our Vietnam veterans, and they want to make sure that those that served have gotten the recognition that they deserve. What would you tell them?
I would say absolutely. In fact, one of the first phone calls that I made was to Chris Goldsmith over at Vietnam Veterans of America. Chris is a Iraq vet himself, and some folks say, why would an Iraq vet be working at Vietnam Veterans of America? But the answer is really quite simple. The founding principle of Vietnam Veterans of America is never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. That's why I called him first on this, because what this program does is it makes this GI Bill forever. It's for all future generations. And that was something that resonated with Chris, and it really recognizes the value of that service over time.
So some of our Iraq, Afghanistan veterans, who we lovingly refer to as Jewish American warriors, some of them have been reservists who have deployed maybe 1, 2, 3, even 4 times to Iraq and Afghanistan, but they're not necessarily getting the same benefits as somebody like me who was active duty but never deployed. So what would you tell them? Well,
there's quite a few provisions in there that will support reservists. In particular, I've heard from a lot of individuals that were deployed on either 12304B or 12304A orders. which is just a small letter change from 12304, but it actually makes a significant difference. At present, individuals who are deployed on those orders, they don't have access to the GI Bill because when those codes were created for the Pentagon, they weren't added to the definition of active duty. So while it recognizes 12304 orders, it doesn't recognize 12304B. It's a small change, but what we've done is made this fully retroactive for those who were involved in those orders. So back to 2008, when the original bill was passed, anyone thereafter will have full access to the benefit, which we thought was really important because those individuals earned the benefit, they just weren't eligible. So we're going to add that eligibility piece. Additionally, for those that are at the lower tiers, if you will, the prorated system, either getting 40 or 50%, they'll be getting 50 or 60% respectively. So it's a 10% bump for those at those bottom tiers, which we think recognizes the fact that ultimately our country's been at war for quite a while. There's been significant strain for reservists, and we wanted to show the appreciation for that.
So we've had a couple of cadets in our Jewish Warrior Weekend reach out to us, and they want to know how this bill will affect them when they go into the service.
So there's a lot of different provisions that take effect during different times. Some of them will take effect immediately upon enactment, and then others are a staggered start date, if you will. So we could go through the different provisions, and actually we'll be producing a sort of a section-by-section analysis of that, and folks will be able to see exactly what parts apply when.
Would that be available on your website?
Yep, we'll definitely put that up.
Awesome. Okay, and then so tell us a little bit about the next steps for the GI Bill.
Well, right now we're still working on getting through the Senate. We're very close. We're right on that 1 yard line, if you will. It's gone through the House. It was a 405-0 vote. Very exciting, unanimous, which is in today's climate pretty tough to do. So we're very excited about that. And right now in the Senate, it's actually been what they call hotlined, which means it's essentially on a fast track to passage. So right now, members are taking the time to make comment or address any concerns that they have. And once we finish that process, it goes up for unanimous consent, or UC as we call it. Once it goes through that, then it goes on the floor for passage, and it should be an easy and swift vote. Then it goes to the president after that to sign.
Oh, okay. So we're almost there.
we're pretty close. Like I said, we're just at that 1 yard line. Just this morning, I was actually walking the halls of Capitol Hill to encourage members of the Senate to co-sponsor this bill and sign their name in support of it, which hopefully helps speed that process along.
Good. So one of our members, Pamela Lightfoot, wants to know, will the Forever GI Bill be retroactive? If so, to what year?
Yes. So various provisions will be retroactive. For example, the reservist provision, that will go all the way back to 2008. So anyone using the program or who had earned the program after that, they'll have 100% eligibility for the components that they earned. There's other parts that go back in time. Unfortunately, the 15-year limit, for example, you can only get that back to 2013. So anyone deployed or exited service after 2013, they'll have access to it. Unfortunately, we couldn't apply that to everything. And that's just a matter of constrained resources. Ultimately everything has a cost, and there's only so much money to work with. So we did the best that we could with the amount that we had, and I think we came up with a really good bill.
Awesome. So we have another one, and it says, what can we as veterans do to help get the bill approved?
The big thing that you can do right now is call your members of Congress. Reach out to your congressman, or reach out to your senators who represent your state, and let them know why this is such an important bill. Let them know how many millions of veterans will be benefiting from the fact that we get this through. Like I said, there's a lot of key inequities that we're trying to address, and there's been broad support for it so far. If you think about how quickly it's moved, I think that just really shows that most see the value of it. So for those that haven't signed on yet, we're trying to make that happen, and you can reach out to your members and do that.
Awesome. And if any of our members need help finding their representatives, they can call national headquarters, and or they can email us at jwv@jwv.org. Any more questions? Nope. Okay. So we as JWV would like to officially sign on with our letter of support.
Great.
To the bill.
All right, terrific.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
And then we would like to give you an honorary no chutzpah, no glory pin, because we wish you all the chutzpah
Terrific.
in your endeavors.
Great.
that you'll need.
Well, thanks so much, and it's
Yeah.
been a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Mhm.